Hello everybody and welcome back to another video for the day. We're going back in r/Tales of Neckbeard because I like doing these Storytime formats. You guys enjoy them and I really do appreciate the fact that you guys have me as nice background music and make me feel good, and I always like hearing the good feedback. So if you guys would like to be absolutely amazing, show your support, and see more videos like this one in the near future, be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment down below to start up them wholesome internet discussions, and if you guys have not already, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. If you want to see more, there's a playlist in the end card. Now let go. How a date went from 0 to 100 real fast. I met this guy on Tinder, and his profile seemed innocent enough. He said he liked nature, hiking, games, TV shows, and movies, things like that. His pictures were pretty normal as well, and he looked like a nice, fun guy. He was tall, a little lanky, had long, light brown hair and a beard. Nothing too crazy. We talked for about a month and seemed to have a lot in common and decided to finally meet up for a date. I tell him I'll wait for him outside of a restaurant, and to make it easier since the parking lot to my complex is a B to get in. I'm waiting and I hear this voice next to me chime in. "Your hair is as beautiful as the sunset." It doesn't register to me that those words were directed at me until I turn my head to see him standing there. Now, he looked pretty similar to his picture, but somehow more scraggly, more unkempt, more as though he had been blown through a tornado. His hair was frizzy and all over the place. His beard was like a sad yard that hadn't had its groundskeeper in years. His teeth were stained and yellow, and his eyes were the size of dinner plates. His only saving grace was that he didn't stink. I stand up and question him, not quite believing what I've heard. "Excuse me?" he repeats himself. My hair at the time was bright freaking purple. The sunset was, well, I don't know, orange? I asked if he was colorblind. The answer was no. He leads me to his car. All the while, he's complimenting me up and down. I'm flattered, really, but calm your tits. We get in and he just lets out the gnarliest burp I've ever heard. "Excuse me, I burp when I get nervous." I excuse it and don't let it bother me. I asked him where we were going, and he ends up taking me to a coffee shop. Alright, coffee, cool. I can deal with that. Heading towards the shop, I'm quickly regretting my decision and tell him that I can't be out late as I've got to work in the morning. He says he understands, and we head inside, grab a seat, grab some coffee, and sit down. Now it starts getting really weird, and I start questioning why I didn't just up and walk away. He starts telling me how he wishes I didn't shave, all the while burping after nearly every sentence that comes out of his mouth. He describes how he likes an unkempt kitty and hairy legs and armpits. I just stare and I have no idea how to reply. I look around wondering what the heck the people around us are thinking, and I try to change the subject. He asks if he can hold my hands, grabs them, and says if he stares into my eyes, he'll be able to really know me, and that he can already tell we are soulmates just from the moment that he laid his eyes on me. So he proceeds to just stare at me, unblinking, for what felt like an eternity. I crack a very nervous laugh, pull my shaky hands away, and ask him exactly why he believes that. He rambles on about his beliefs, and to be honest, I can't remember anything he told me. Not after that hairy kitty comment and the cosmic soulmate thing. I tell him that I'm finished and I'm ready to go home now. We had arranged earlier that he would drop me off at the restaurant again after the date. We packed up and leave, get into the car, and I suppose he thought home meant his house. We actually live very close to each other, unbeknownst to him, so I didn't realize he was heading the wrong way until the last second. I blurt out, "Wait, where are we going?" And he replies, "A date must end with a home-cooked meal." No, dude, it doesn't. I tell him I need to leave early. I have work, blah blah blah, and he pleads to just let him cook me dinner. to treat me like a princess, that I deserve it for being wonderful, and that it won't take but an hour. I give up. It's free food, whatever, and I have a weapon in my bag if he pulls anything. We head inside his house, and I am so thankful that my house was within walking distance. He introduces me to his cat, who becomes my saving grace throughout the night, and he begins cooking and singing. Apparently, he is a master rapper. He blares rap music and starts singing along to it as he cooks, and I'm holding on to his cat for dear life. I find little things to do, like feed his cat's dinner, or brush his cat, or play with the cat. As I'm cleaning up after feeding the cat, he again asked if I would stop shaving for him, that it would make him the happiest man in the world, and that I would like it more if I stopped shaving. I laughed awkwardly again and tell him no. I kind of like having smooth legs and armpits and such. He sighs, tells me that I don't know what I'm missing, and I'm conforming to too much to what society wants women to be and feel, shrugs, and holds his hand out to me and asks for a dance. I'm not sure what he saw, but the look on my face was pure confusion. How the heck was he expecting to dance to music he was listening to, especially after a comment like that? I shake my head, motion to the cat, who I quickly scoop up my arms and say, I already have a partner, and started dancing with the cat. Eventually, dinner is ready, and he sets everything up, and while eating, we watched Rick and Morty. I try to enjoy the show until he scoots unreasonably close to me and rests his head on my shoulders. I can't move any further away from him, or I'd fall off the couch or hit a wall, so I just ignore it and eat. Really fast. Really fast. He starts whispering how he'd be the best lover, make me quake with pleasure, and he knows all of the weak points in a woman. I want to vomit. I get up, say I've got to go now, and start to leave. He interrupts me and says he has a gift for me, and he wants me to read for the next time we see each other. When he comes back, he has a book on Kama Sutra and the female redacted. He says, I've studied this book front to back just for you, and I know I could pleasure you. Read this, you'll know how to truly pleasure yourself too. And pick out some of your favorite positions in it, and we can do them next time we meet. I visually shudder. I tell him no thanks. I am not interested in that. The likelihood of us having a second date is very slim, as nicely as I can, because I really don't like getting murdered. I hand him back the book, and he is adamant and refuses to let me give it back. So I take it. Once I get home, I'm bombarded by texts about how I'm the one for him, how the date was amazing, and how he wants to marry me, and he wants me to be his queen and lover, and everything under the sun. I reply back with concern over how he could possibly miss my visual cues on how uncomfortable I was, how little I spoke, and the fact that I told him no at the end of the date. For the next 3 days, he would text me demanding I give him a chance and that I am the one for him, that he would rock my world, no man compares to him, etc., etc. No matter how many times I explained myself to him or told him no, he would not give up. I eventually had to block him. I am so glad I never gave him my address. Oh, and if you're curious of what I did with the book, my sister saw it, shrieked it, and threw it in the trash. Though I can very much understand being excited for the first date and everything, but you are very much going way too far beyond first date if you're trying to say that, you're the one for me, we would be perfect together, and then getting into the lewd stuff like, I could make you do this so many times by reading this, but you really, the dude did not think for a single second that any of this sounded weird whatsoever. Holy crap! How I stood up to the guy who touched me without my consent. Hi Reddit, I come with another story from my past. I've been considering posting this for a while, so I feel that I would do me some good to get off my chest. I had a feeling that someone here will say that this is fake, especially since I'm a guy, but trust me, I wish it was fake. My memory of what exactly happened might be a bit fuzzy, because at the time, I was not living my best life, to put it lightly. So, there's a lot of things I've probably blocked out of memory, either because of trauma or regret. If you read the title, then it kinda goes without saying that this story has to do with SA. But there's also a good bit of homophobia, one small mention of racism, and a little bit of physical violence. Consider this your warning. If I remember this correctly, this happened around 2015, when I was 14 years old and in the 8th grade. At the time, I'd often ride the bus home from school, and one of those trips was where I met the guy who I would call Bill. I was quietly sitting in my seat, minding my own business, when suddenly I felt Bill's hand feeling against my chest from the seat behind me, moving it around like it was trying to fondle me. I was dead silent and did nothing, because even though I was uncomfortable and afraid, I didn't know what to do in a situation like this. After a few seconds of being touched, I got up on my knees and turned around to look at Bill. As for Bill's physical appearance, he didn't look like the stereotypical creep or neckbeard. In fact, he looked like a fairly ordinary guy around my age, with short blonde hair, blue eyes, no facial hair. What really creeped me out was the look on his face. When I made eye contact with Bill, he looked at me with a grin not unlike that of Bill Skarsgård, who you may recognize as the actor that played Pennywise in the 2017 It film. "I love you," he said while I looked at him. I got scared and quickly turned around and got back in my seat, hoping he'd leave me alone if I just kept my mouth shut and pretended that it wasn't happening. He left me alone for maybe a minute or two before he put his hand on my chest again. I got up to look at him again, and this time he said, "My name is Bill." I just sat down and continued to stay quiet, hoping that ignoring him would make him stop, and fearing that speaking up would only make it worse. That was a mistake. Eventually, he touched me again, but this time, he put his hand on my hip like he was trying to touch my butt. Luckily, I was sitting next to another guy the whole time. I haven't really spoken to him before, but I did have classes with him. And he was nice enough to stand up for me once he noticed what was going on. He turned around and confronted Bill. "Hey, leave OP alone," he said somewhat sternly. Bill asked him why, and if he had done nothing wrong. And he responded with, "Because you're making him uncomfortable." I don't remember what else happened after that, but it seems like he talked enough sense into Bill for him to keep his hands off of me for the rest of the trip. And I wouldn't see him again for a while. If you happen to be reading this, I'd like to thank you for doing that. You're probably wondering, did you tell your parents about this? Yes, I did tell my mom and former stepdad, though I don't remember when I decided to tell them or how either of them reacted. I doubt that my stepdad took it seriously because at the time he'd often embarrass and humiliate me either to make himself feel powerful or just for giggles. For example, there was this one time he shook a skirt at me, demanding that I put it on until I ran out of my room bawling my eyes out. Or those times that he had chased me around the house with a toy taser while laughing his butt off. Like I said, I wasn't living my best life at the time. I don't remember when it happened, but one day, my mom sat me down in the living room to ask why I didn't like my stepdad. I'm not sure how it came up, but my mom told me that he had a talk with Bill in the principal's office about what happened in the school bus. I don't know the exact details, but I can imagine that he didn't pull any punches, because he was a proud bigot. He wouldn't outright say that he hated gay people, but he'd casually address me and my brother with homophobic slurs, and would often make jokes like, "Have you seen the clown who hides from gay people?" He was also the kind of person who'd casually say the N-word in everyday conversation like it's totally acceptable. I feel like it paints a picture of the kind of person that my stepdad is. Let's fast forward to a bit to 2017, when I was in sophomore year of high school. this is probably the most regretful period of my life because I was probably a couple of steps away from becoming a full-blown neckbeard. But that's irrelevant. I had a visual arts class, and guess who was one of my classmates? That's right, Bill was back. As you'd imagine, I refused to even look in his direction. Thankfully, he sat pretty far away from me, and he didn't talk to me at all during class. One day during lunch, I finished my food and got up to put my tray away. On my way there, however, Bill saw me and decided that he wanted to talk to me. He simply looked at me from his while, saying, "Hi." For some reason, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Before I describe what happened next, I'd like to explain myself first, because I feel like someone will tell me that I had an overreaction. I probably did, but I still feel like I need to explain myself. I wasn't bothered by this guy saying hi to me. I was upset that he decided to talk to me as if I wanted to be his friend, even though I haven't seen him since the 8th grade after he tried to grab my butt. I have a suspicion that he thought I'd just forget about the incident on the bus if he just waited it out, and maybe give him a chance and accept his friendship, or maybe even become his boyfriend. I just looked at him for maybe a second or two before I broke my tray against the top of his head without saying a word. Granted, the tray was made of styrofoam, but I think it was at this moment he realized that I didn't like him at all. I went to throw a broken tray in the trash now and go to my seat, but on the way there, I went up to Bill's face and called him a homophobic slur. Now, I regret doing that, especially after I realized that I had a lot of gay friends. But on the other hand, I feel like it helped hammer in the point that I wouldn't forgive him for what he did to me. To my surprise, I didn't get in trouble for this. I've been told that Bill was an a-hole to teachers and other students, so maybe that's why. Or maybe it's because this was extremely out of character for me. I mean, I made more than a few jokes that went over the line between edgy and messed up, but still, I was probably the last person they'd expect to pick a fight with someone, since I often keep to myself and rarely made physical contact with anyone. I think Bill switched classes after that because I stopped seeing him in visual arts, and I wouldn't see him again for another 2 years. He did try to make small talk with me a couple of times, and while he worked at the store next to my place of work. However, I think he lost that job because soon enough, I never saw him again. Thank you for reading. I have quite a few more stories to share about my past, especially ones involving my former stepdad, because I think he qualifies as a neckbeard or an incel because of his behavior. But for now, I'll leave you with this quote. There's nothing more cool than being hugged by someone you like, but if someone tries to touch you in a place and makes you feel uncomfortable, that's no good. That was Sonic, wasn't it? Yeah, no, if somebody's trying to do that to you and you bust a tray upside their head, yeah, no, that's a pretty good justification on a reaction. Dude effed around and found out, because it's not like you can just wait out something and think that, oh, everything in the world will be nice just because I played the waiting game. Yeah, don't work out like that, dude. A neckbeard calls me a stupid female and tries to snatch my Nintendo Switch. Hello, everyone. Just a little background info before I start this story. First of all, English is not my first language, so forgive me for any dumb spelling mistakes. I'm a 16-year-old girl, about 175 centimeters, 5'9", if my calculations are correct, and I'm kinda beefy. I do competitive boxing. This is kind of a long one. This story is a few months old. Can't remember the exact date, and I'm writing it down just now because I'm quarantined and don't have a lot to do. Okay. On to the story. So, since I live in a pretty small city, my mom lets me kind of roam around for a couple of hours during the weekends after lunch to meet my friends, and we play a bit of D&D. I usually take the bus to go to a bar called Glitch, where people meet up and play board games and stuff like that. I was waiting for the bus, and I took my beloved Switch with me, because I had recently bought 2 games, Shantae and Doom 64. As I was sitting on the bench, chilling and booting my console up, this big chonk walks up to me. He looked well over 18. He was a little taller than me. If I had to guess, I'd say he was an inch taller. long black hair, tied in a ponytail, no fedora though. A t-shirt from that one gaming anime, Kakagurui, I think. I know the protagonist, but I've never seen it, and cargo shorts. He sat right next to me and, oh boy, he had one of the weirdest smells I have ever experienced. The closest thing I can describe it is a mix of garlic, BO, rubbing alcohol, and vanilla. Since I didn't want to be rude or anything, I said hi and went straight back to Doom. He leaned in, watched me play for a bit. I hate it when people do that because it makes me very uncomfortable, and said, "Oh, je pense valde un del macizo parte." That is words. Roughly translates to, "Oh, what a pleasure seeing one of your sex partaking in such an honorable activity." Again, didn't want to be rude, so I just replied, "Grazie," which translates to thanks, but I was barely able to finish the tutorial. LOL. What happened next was pretty unexpected. He looked at me straight in the eyes and said these words. That's a lot of, "Oh, lady, I don't expect you to be good or anything. Stupid females like you aren't capable of understanding such a spirit of such games. Allow a knight like me to finish what you've started." And then he tried to grab my wrist to snatch my Switch. At that point, I was extremely uncomfortable, so I freed myself from his greasy touch, packed my Switch, and ran off towards my house. I do recognize it was not a very pro-gamer move, but to my defense, he wasn't fast. I got home safe, and he didn't follow me because I ran like a maniac. That day, I opted out for staying out of home. I told my friends I had a creepy encounter, and they understood. To this day, I have never seen this guy again. I'm perfectly okay with that, though. It was an interesting experience for sure, and I hope it is the last neckbeard encounter I ever have. Thanks for your attention, and stay at home, my dudes and dudettes. Peace! Look, I get that Doom is very much not the easiest game by any means, and none of the games are really super easy, but that doesn't give you the right to try to grab somebody else's console out of their hands just because they're a girl. But with that, that is going to have to be it with the video. If you guys would like to be absolutely amazing, show your support, and see more videos like this one in the near future, be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment down below to start up the wholesome internet discussions, and if you guys have not already, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. And I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye!